Hey, everyone, George here. We humans are meaning-seeking creatures, right? It's in our DNA to crave purpose, belonging, something bigger than ourselves. So it's no surprise that religions and spiritual groups pop up like, well, mushrooms after a rainstorm. But there's a difference between genuine seeking and just wanting to feel good. And that's where things get dicey, particularly with sects. No, it's not a solid move to join a religious sect or any group purely on vibes and comfort without digging into its theological bones. Feelings can be a shaky foundation. They're fickle, shaped by mood, charisma, or a good sales pitch. Sound theology, on the other hand, is like a blueprint. It's supposed to hold up under scrutiny, not just feel nice in the moment. Ever heard the phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is? Yeah, that applies here big time. We're talking about your life, your beliefs, your very soul, potentially. So buckle up, because today we're diving into why joining a sect on vibes alone is like building your house on a fault line. It might look pretty, but an earthquake of doubt is just around the corner. All right, let's rewind the clock a bit. History's littered with cautionary tales about groups that went horribly wrong, all because critical thinking took a back seat to good vibes. Think Jonestown and the People's Temple, led by the infamous Jim Jones. He offered his followers a socialist utopia, a refuge from the evils of the world. He preached love, equality, and community, especially to the marginalized. On the surface, it sounded pretty utopian, right? But beneath the surface lurked something far darker. Jones demanded absolute obedience and controlled every aspect of his followers' lives. Dissent was met with intimidation and violence. Ultimately, this toxic mix of charisma and unchecked power culminated in the horrific mass suicide of over 900 people, a chilling testament to the dangers of blind faith. Then there's Heaven's Gate, a group that believed a UFO trailed the Hale-Bopp comet, and hitching a ride on said UFO was their ticket to a higher plane of existence. They called it the human evolutionary level above human, and to ascend they needed to shed their earthly containers, which tragically meant suicide. These are extreme examples, sure, but they illustrate a chilling point. When we prioritize emotional comfort over critical thinking, we become vulnerable to manipulation. It's like letting someone else hold the map while you're blindfolded. You have no idea where you'll end up. Look, it's perfectly natural to crave comfort and certainty. In a world often defined by chaos and uncertainty, a sect promising clear answers and a warm embrace can be incredibly alluring. But here's the rub. Truth and comfort aren't always comfortable bedfellows. In fact, sometimes they're downright incompatible. Imagine this. You stumble upon a sect that's just right. They're welcoming, their rituals are soothing, and their leader has this magnetic personality. But then you start digging into their core beliefs. Maybe they claim their leader receives divine revelations that contradict established scripture, or their interpretation of morality seems, well, morally questionable. This is where discernment comes in, the ability to distinguish between truth and falsehood, between genuine spiritual insight and cleverly packaged manipulation. Sound theology, the kind that stands up to scrutiny, isn't about blind acceptance. It's about grappling with tough questions, even if the answers make you uncomfortable. Here's the thing about our brains. They're wired to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are, shall we say, a tad askew. This is called confirmation bias, And it's a powerful force, especially when we're emotionally invested in something. Let's say you've joined a sect and you're starting to have doubts. Maybe the leader's pronouncements are getting a little too out there, or the group's practices seem at odds with your own moral compass. Confirmation bias will whisper in your ear, "It's okay, it's just a phase you're going through," or "everyone else seems happy, so you must be the problem." This is why critical thinking is crucial, folks. It's like shining a spotlight on those shadowy corners of our minds where confirmation bias loves to hide. Discernment requires us to step back, question our assumptions, and be willing to change our minds when presented with compelling evidence. Chapter 4. The heart has its reasons, when feelings aren't all bad. Okay, before you write off emotions entirely, it's important to acknowledge that they play a vital role in our spiritual journeys. Emotions can be powerful catalysts, leading us to question, explore, and connect with something larger than ourselves. Think about it. Have you ever felt a sense of awe standing beneath a star-filled sky, or a surge of compassion for someone in need? These emotions, while not inherently religious, can open us up to the possibility of something transcendent. They can spark curiosity about the nature of existence, the meaning of life, and the existence of a higher power. For some, a sect might offer a lifeline in a time of crisis. When life throws its inevitable curveballs, loss, grief, despair, the promise of belonging, purpose, and unwavering certainty can be incredibly enticing. And in those moments of vulnerability, it's understandable why critical thinking might take a back seat to the need for comfort and support. Chapter 5, Sound Theology 101, What to Look For. Now, I know what you might be thinking. John, you're making me sound like I need a PhD in theology to join any religious group. Relax, it's not that complicated. Sound theology isn't about memorizing obscure doctrines or winning theological debates. It's about coherence, consistency, and intellectual honesty. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just start slapping bricks together without a blueprint, right? You'd want to make sure the foundation is solid, the walls are plumb, and the roof won't cave in at the first sign of rain. Sound theology provides a similar framework for belief. It asks questions like, does this sect's teaching align with its claimed source of authority, like the Bible, the Quran, or the Torah? Does it hold up to reason and evidence? Is it internally consistent, or does it contradict itself? Chapter 6. The stakes are high. When vibes threaten society. This isn't just about individual risk, though that's huge in itself. When enough people follow the vibe over reason, it impacts society as a whole. You get fragmentation, where shared values get replaced by whatever the loudest, most charismatic leader is selling. Look at cults that turned violent, or those that pressured members to cut off contact with the outside world. Often there's a pattern. Feelings were prioritized over facts, loyalty to the leader over critical thinking, and the group's ideology was treated as absolute truth. The results are rarely pretty. Now, I'm not saying every sect is a cult in the making, or that every group that prioritizes emotion is dangerous, but blindly accepting any ideology, no matter how good it feels, can have serious consequences both for individuals and for society. Outro! Don't be a vibe chaser, choose wisely. So no, it's not correct in the sense of being wise or safe. Comfort's a lousy compass without discernment to steer it. Ever seen someone fall hard for a group like that? It's a slow-motion train wreck, tough to watch. They might seem happy at first, but the cracks start to show. Their critical thinking fades, replaced by blind faith in whoever's calling the shots. That's not to say you should approach faith with suspicion, like you're interrogating a suspect. It's more about balance. Let your heart guide you, sure, but engage your brain too. Ask questions, seek understanding, and don't be afraid to walk away if something feels off, even if everyone else is telling you you're wrong. Remember, your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape the world. Choose wisely, my friends.